Let me go across to Dr. Lauren Dagan, who joins us from Israel. And I'll also be joined by Rajiv Nayan from IDSA and my Strategic Affairs Editor Aditya Kaul. But Dr. Lauren, first to you. The protective, or I would say, okay, let me rephrase it. Do you think the Operation Cast Lead is a stronger possibility, one, or do you think that the protective edge is something which the Israel would be thinking of, like a shallow incursion when it comes to Gaza? Because reports are that the mobilization of the reserve forces have already taken place and their deployment is there. Can you unmute yourself, please?
I'm sorry. I just want to say thank you. Listen, Hamas is ISIS. What they are doing to us, it's crazy, really. They're killing our children, women in pregnant, soldiers. They are killing everyone. So Israel should go in as Gaza and put order, not to control, but to face with Hamas. Hamas went crazy. Iran is control this. It's very difficult time, and Iran doing whatever she can to destroy Israel, but we never give up, and we will not give her this opportunity. So Israel must defend herself. And you say earlier that we, in the knocking roof, we are telling the people go outside their home. But on the last Saturday, no one told the families to go out. Actually, the murders came into the
Dr.
house.
Lauren, my question was, Dr. Lauren, my question was, do you think that this is going to be a deep strike inside Gaza or like a shallow incursion which happened in 2014? Do you think it's going to be 2009 or 2014?
I hope so. I hope so.
What do you hope so?
I really hope so.
That?
I hope that it's going to be very deep in Gaza, and I hope the army will do its best.
Okay. Aditya, do you think that it's going to be like a 2009 strike, or you think it's going to be like a shallow incursion? And my second question to you, you take both the questions. Do you think that there's a possibility that the Gaza can be divided into two parts, separated?
About the second question, I'm not sure, but if it favors Israel in many ways, then certainly there could be a division. But one thing that I'm certain about, Kartikeya, is the fact that protective edge or cast, I personally believe that the kind of operation, the kind of ground assault, the kind of intrusion that Israel will do in Gaza will be never seen before, will be unprecedented. And by that I mean it will be not only room to room and building to building intervention that we'll certainly see, it will perhaps also be occupation, and not an occupation only for 15 days or 3 months, but perhaps larger span of time. I don't know exactly what would be the mode of governance. Will the PLO be handed the keys and the power, really, as has happened in the past? But Hamas often is known to take away the power forcibly from the PLO. But in this particular case, I think it's going to be a more permanent kind of occupation by the Israeli forces and the political establishment, because the statements are very clear.
Aditya, last time when there was a permanent occupation, they left in 2005.
No,
it was costly.
I don't think it's going to be occupation.
And it costed.
It's not going to be occupation.
I'll come to you. I'll come to you. You can differ. You can differ from Aditya. It was costly, and Israel thought differently of it. That is why they came out, and they economically incentivized the Gazans. So that is why I'm asking you, why do you think that it's going to be a long stay inside? Because that means that Israel will end up governing Gaza.
That's true. It will be perhaps a similar kind of formula that they have applied in West Bank. But Israel has experienced this for a very long time. They have given opportunities, that the kind of funding that Gaza gets, the kind of aid that Gaza gets should be utilized for development, for hospitals, for school, for education, but instead it's used for terrorism. And that's why the kind of statements we have seen from Benjamin Netanyahu or even Gantz and other leaders clearly suggest the operation will be unprecedented and the occupation is inevitable really in Gaza. We've also seen, in my visits to Israel when I've interacted with the IDF, and I remember a particular incident, Kartikeya, in Kerem Shalom, border crossing, which is one of the major routes of trade and also a lot of humanitarian aid that enters Gaza. And the leader of the Kerem Shalom border crossing explained to me with details and videos and examples on ground that a lot of material that goes for plumbing or pipes, etc., is further used to make rockets, etc., or handmade ammunition. So a lot of opportunities has been given, but unfortunately Israel has been backstabbed time and again. And the kind of one, embarrassment, second, the killings, and third, the kind of hurt and wound that Israel has had right now is unprecedented, and I feel that Israel will respond in a much fierce manner.
I think Dr. Lauren had a different view. Dr. Lauren?
No, I don't disagree with my friend, but I think that we don't have interest to occupy Gaza. We don't want it. Hamas is occupying its people. Hamas doesn't give its people electricity, water. We don't want to do this. We want to harm Hamas. Hamas is ISIS. Hamas is doing terrible things to the people in Israel and to his people in Gaza. So we don't want to control Gaza. We never wanted, but we need to control what Hamas is doing. And from my point of view, we need to kill all Hamas and to melt them down.
Okay, let me play another bite. Let me play another bite of the interview which Aditya took.
It was a ISIS kind of operation, really merciless. Women, children, elderly, they killed whole families, they murdered. I don't want to go into all the atrocities and the war crimes there, but it really, the pictures of ISIS decapitating. So I'll stop here because the viewers don't have to hear these graphic things, but it was something we never knew in the past. We had things, but nothing that is ISIS-like. We understand that Hamas adopted over the years really the approach of ISIS, and that was the situation. We have to admit that there was a collapse of the protection there, and then citizens found themselves alone against the terrorists.
And I'm also being joined by Dr. Rajiv Nayan from IDSA. Thank you so much for joining me. The question is, the terrorists in the Gaza can be taken care of by Israel. But the issue is, am I audible to you, Dr. Nayan?
Now it is.
Okay. So the question is, the terrorists can be flushed out, the Gaza can be destroyed, but then how do you administer it? How do you administer it? What will be left to administer Gaza?
No, it will be really tough to administer Gaza if you are destroying the zone. It's a tough job. For the last 18 months, after 2020 11-day war, and it was not easy. Somehow, this time, Israeli Defense Force or Israeli establishment was deceived by the Hamas strategy, or you guys is planning war planning. But it has been a tough job, no doubt about it. And I agree with the viewpoint that it is why are you going to just occupy the place and be in the constant conflict with a population which is otherwise hostile, even if it is not a terrorist group or a terrorist say population, yet it will be hostile towards you. So it will be tough. Now you are giving the example of West Bank. That could be experimented, but I don't think Israeli could be, or the Israeli state will in the mood to experiment that in in that zone, because already radicalization has
Dr.
taken
Rajiv,
place.
do you think there's a possibility that they can divide Gaza? Because there are two operations which we are talking about. The first operation was of 2009, Operation Cast Lead. The second operation was of 2024. That was a very shallow incursion which they made. And then a year ago, there was a Jenin operation, which I wanted to talk about. In Jenin operation, they went inside, flushed out the terrorists, killed them, and came back. So there are ways in which Gaza has seen Israeli action post 2005 in multiple ways. What sort of action are we going to witness?
I don't know what will be the Israeli strategy about that. But one thing which they are making it very clear that they are going to flush out all the Hamas terrorists. And the lady just now on your screen, on your channel also talked about that. So they are very determined to flush out, to take out all the terrorists staying on the Hamas, especially Hamas terrorists. I don't know whether it will succeed or not, because just now we talked about radicalized population. And this radicalized population may feed the future Hamas groups. Even if many of them are destroyed, or almost all of them are destroyed, yet some of them will be left out, or some of them will be remaining, and they may cause problems. So what Israel needs to do is to evolve or devise a long-term strategy, so that it has got some kind of better peace situation. It is not easy. I completely agree that it is not going to be easy. It is not going to be an easy situation. But somehow they will have to experiment that. Somehow they will have to engage with the Palestinians, those Palestinians or those who are staying even on Gaza, on the Gaza Strip, which we call. So how to engage them and make them a stakeholder in the entire developmental process, or somehow give some kind of some semblance of that democratic governance to them. I don't know, it's tough, but yeah, it is the divide is very deep, and how it is going to be managed, it's a tough question,
Okay,
no doubt.
okay.
Many tried, even many US administrations tried. Today Blinken was there, and he went there as a Jew. He did not go there as a
Okay.
Secretary of
Okay,
State.
Dr. Rajiv.
All are trying. So I mean, let's hope that something comes out of it. So, but I'm still very pessimistic
Okay,
about it.
okay. Dr. Lauren, I'm reading an article which was published in Economist. Okay, it says ultimately the Israeli leaders are caught between the maximalist rhetoric of eliminating Hamas and the implausibility of reoccupying Gaza. Hamas leaders and a large proportion of fighters are likely to emerge from their bunkers and restore control over the strip to minute the IDF leaves. Even if Israel were to succeed in smashing the group, it is unclear to whom Israel would then turn to administer the territory. How is Israel expected to address this dilemma, Dr. Lauren?
Let me understand. You want to, after the army operation will end, what happened?
Yes.
I really hope so, that from my point of view, that another Arabic countries will involve more in Gaza, will help the people in Gaza. I hope that Hamas will destroy, Israel will destroy Hamas. I really hope so, that maybe Asian countries and maybe other Arab countries will help the people in Gaza, and maybe we can live in peace with them.
See, Aditya, there is another point to this. And the point is about the Prime Minister of Israel. And I quote, during his career in Israeli politics, Netanyahu, Israel's Prime Minister, has been cautious in using military force despite his public hawkishness. Is it correct?
Well, that is true, because I told you that Benjamin Netanyahu from the very beginning has avoided to, launch a large-scale military operation
Why,
inside
in your
Gaza.
opinion?
Because, just like the panelists said, and the expert from the IDSA also said, that, it's too much of a cost. And if the local population is hostile, then it doesn't make sense. Yes, you want to flush off terrorists, you want to make them incapable, their capacities need to be reduced drastically, and this time probably it would be done to a large extent. But you need to also understand that a large population is also radicalized. And just like we see in the West Bank, a lot of protests, violent protests, a lot of stone pelting, riots, arson, etc., It's much worse in Gaza if Israel plans to stay there longer than a few weeks. So I think the costs are very high, and it doesn't really, in a very pragmatic approach, logical approach, it doesn't make sense. So Kartikeya, we'll have to wait and watch what really the Israel government really plans to do in the long road. In the short road ahead, of course, they will launch the ground operation. They'll try to flush out Hamas. The killings would be much higher. The numbers are even higher. Even today, there are 1,200 Israelis who have died already. There are more than 1,400 people in Gaza who have died, and there's no breakup of how many of them are civilians and how many are terrorists.